Cottle.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, we'll start over. Forgot to ask for the recording. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the special meeting with a joint study session with the Covington City Council and the Planning Commission for Tuesday, February 28th. In compliance with state law, City Council special and regular meetings will be held in a hybrid format with in-person, telephonic, and virtual options for public viewing and participation. With that, we'll call this study session to order, and we will go around the table to introduce ourselves, and we'll restart with Joe.
Joe Smolo, City Council.
Beth Porter, City Council.
Joe Cullenberg, Planning Commission.
Chelsea Thorne, Planning Commission.
David Cottle, Planning Commission.
Jeff Wagner, your mayor.
Murray Williams, Planning Commission.
Susana Roman with the City Assistant Planner. Selena Lyons, Community Development Director.
Sean Smith with Council.
Christina Soltis, Council. Debbie Hertzog, Council. Jennifer Hargenhausen, Council. Just the date pretty quick.
Great. Thank you all very much for being here, and online we have our city manager. If you'd like to introduce yourself, Regan.
Hey everybody, Regan Boley. Sorry I can't be with you tonight. Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
You bet.
And with that, we have several items for discussion, and I'm going to turn it over to Murray Williams, our chair of the Planning Commission.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'll first go over the plan for this evening. Our first item is to go over the 2023 Planning Commission and Community Development Long Range Work Plan. Then we'll discuss the comprehensive plan slogan, which is to help us communicate, open up communication channels with the citizenry. Then we'll go into the public engagement plan, which covers the comp plan on climate action requirement. And then we'll close up with item number 4, which is just other items like the schedule and things of that nature. So let's see, we will hand it off to Commissioner Thorne, and she will start off with the 2023-2024 PC work plan.
All right, thank you. Like Murray said, we're introducing the 2023 to 2024 work plan, which you all should have a copy in front of you. And if you'll notice, some of these items do go to 2025. We've broken these into 4 major categories. 1, the legislative requirements. And this is anything that comes down from the state legislature, which would be our #1 priority. And then the second category is comprehensive planning. And this is just going to be anything related to the comprehensive plan update. The third category is implementation and efficiency. And this category is basically like following through on things that have been implemented to ensure that nothing else is needed for the enforcement or implementation of it. And then the 4th category is citywide objectives, which isn't in the list, but once council finalizes it, we'll get it added.
Thank you.
Can I just add something really quick?
Absolutely.
Here. As Chelsea had identified before you is the work plan for the Planning Commission. Theirs is in blue. There is a second part of this that is community development related. Kind of all things Planning Commission or community development, but not all things community development or Planning Commission. So these are really in addition to the work that the Planning Commission's doing. This is also kind of a living list. I actually have a SharePoint list that anytime things come up, we just continue to add to it. So this is really the snapshot in time from last week. And I'd probably say there's a couple of things we're expecting based on legislative outcomes that will kind of either be clarifying or adding to this. So this is really kind of the full picture of what community development and our other departments, parks and public works, where we partner, have ahead for ourselves the next probably 2 years, say. And I included the CD work just for purpose so that you are aware kind of the full gamut.
Thank you. That takes us on to the next slide, and our first bar is comprehensive planning. Sonia, is okay? Oh, Susanna's going to do that? Great.
So this is gonna entail the major work plan efforts for 2023 and 2024. So for the planning commission, the work plan is broken down as you see on the screen. The first, which is the comprehensive plan efforts, which will be opening the docket process within the next couple of weeks, expecting to receive items from Parks Pro Plan to incorporate into the comprehensive plan, which is related to impact fees. Next is to oversee the public engagement plan and implementation efforts. In addition would be to propose an equity metrics, equity tool, which is also supporting the climate work, along with reviewing comp plan elements, SEPA compliance, and the best available science out there to build the best recommendations to the city council. So next would be the housing elements.
About this one, it's kind of listed up on the slide, and then so phase one just finished and we're moving into phase two. We also understand that there could be additional housing legislation that might come down from the state, so we'll be looking for that as well. And then if you guys have any other questions about that, Selena can answer them.
All right, well, moving on to the climate action column there. As it notes, we'll be reviewing a spatial model of vulnerable communities. That's a GIS or a geographical map. We'll be analyzing and reviewing impacts on Covington's built environment and health services. Also developing and prioritizing strategies to address those vulnerabilities, incorporating resiliency measures into the comprehensive plan update, complete draft and climate action assessment, and then a recommendation to council, which is expected in, I believe, 2024.
Well, yeah, the climate action.
23-24.
Yeah, the climate action grant draft is due June 2023 per the grant we received. But all of that information we will take and build into our comprehensive plan update. So it's really an information document. Similar to what we saw with the housing needs assessment. A lot of data.
And then on to the code amendments column. So first up is the shoreline master plan will need to be updated. Currently, the Parks Department is unable to completely build out SoCo Park because of the way the SMT is currently written. So we'll be reviewing updates to that to allow the entire park area to be used. This involves water enjoyment changes, which we'll get more detail on when that comes onto our plan. Secondly is electric vehicle regulations. Originally, those had been pushed out to the cities to put on their plans. However, the state has assumed that, and so these changes will be to take out the sections that have been added and put in references to the state's standards and building code. Let's see, then there'll be some state mandates coming from the current legislative session that we'll be looking at later in the year once those become available. They've been reviewed and staff is ready to start going over it with us. And then after that is just various plan actions as they come up. It's kind of a catch-all bucket, but one of the things it refers to is the changes that Park Pro's plan requires are going to kind of all get moved through the zoning process with the planning commission. So that should make it more efficient. They'll come through together. And that takes us on to the comprehensive, oh, I'm sorry.
To see if there is a change that needs to be made, or we have some homes that are on Jenkins Creek, like, and they're doing things on their property that I'm wondering, looking at it going, it has to have an impact, I'm sure. Is that part of something that you might be able to look at while you're digging into it, or is that kind of layering on a little more?
Well, I think there's actually two questions there that I'm hearing. So one is the Jenkins Creek, and it depends where these properties are in Jenkins Creek. So the shoreline for Jenkins Creek is only everything south of 272nd. So anything north of 272nd, so multi-care, Jenkins
Mhm.
Creek Park up
Mhm.
through the city, that is actually in the critical areas ordinance. And so the
Okay.
critical areas ordinance is pretty explicit about what you can and cannot do if you are adjacent to a critical area. That's a pretty, similar to the shoreline, pretty state regulated. So if you're seeing those, then our code enforcement officer should probably be informed so we can kind of start to make sure. And then with that, we would ensure if there's any gaps. As far as the shoreline master program piece of it, we actually met with Ecology last week or a couple weeks ago. I don't know, time blurs together. And talked to them about updating the SMP. It is not an easy, an easy feat.
Mhm.
And the city adopted the shoreline master plan updates in 2019. So we just kind of did a touch point with them to see, is this even, are you even gonna let us do this,
Mhm,
right? Because they
mhm.
could easily have said no. One of the benefits was that we have master plans for these park areas, so they're like, that's a really good benefit. So they think that they'll be, we'll be able to get that through. So that Soco Park and any of the other properties Ethan might acquire along that corridor can be utilized. So that's kind of a little bit of around your question, Beth, but I think it's understanding what people are doing and then where they're located. And so if you want to give us that information, we can dig into that a little bit more. If we do find it's in the shoreline, right, based on their address, then we can do a quick gap and see what's permitted there. I will say that corridor of Jenkins Creek Park is also in your mixed housing office zone in your downtown. So it's not liberal in the sense of you can do whatever you want, but it did consider that you would have housing and mixed uses along that corridor. So, it's kind of that balance. It's kind of a tricky balance. We just missed the oversight for parks when we did that update.
Thank you.
Any other questions? My apologies for not asking the questions. Well, that will take us to the comprehensive plan slogan and,
Yes,
yeah.
I'll give you a brief summary regarding the evolution and status of the comprehensive plan tagline, brand, or slogan. They're taken in all the context of what we're trying to do there. First off, there was a joint meeting that was held with the Planning Commission and the Equity, Cultural, and Social Justice ECSJ Committee in August of 2022. Great discussion input had at that meeting, and we really were focused on a comprehensive plan update slogan that would be meaningful, distinctive, and accessible. So it'd be like easy to interpret, to say it, or to Google it. Now, one of the important and critical key perspectives that were provided from the ECSJ was that words we choose can have a significant impact on the people around us, shaping their perception and beliefs. They can be used to inspire, motivate, and encourage, or they can be used to harm, belittle. Can have both positive and negative effects on others. And for language, using kind and supportive language can help build trust, strengthen relationships, and promote empathy and understanding. Conversely, using hurtful or negative language can cause harm, perpetuate stereotypes, and contribute to a culture of divisiveness and intolerance. So words and language really matter tremendously. Citywide general tagline for Growing Towards Greatness has been present as part of the 2015 to 2035 comprehensive plan and the 20-year vision for the city of Covington. But also adopted in January 2016, the City Council adopted the comprehensive plan update, which included planning towards greatness. Now, in the process for identification of a tagline and brand, we aligned the 2024 comp plan update slogan with the new city goals. Following the discussion and voting, we decided upon Covington 24, a thriving community for all. Now, the thriving definition means to prosper, to be fortunate or successful, to grow or develop vigorously, and to flourish. And we thought that a thriving community is one where a healthy relationship among people grows naturally without regard to race, ethnicity, gender, wealth, or heritage. Now, there are 6 convincing benefits to pursue the brand tagline, including free economics, a thriving community for all can lead to economic growth and prosperity for everyone. When individuals have access to resources such as education and job opportunities, they are more likely to succeed and contribute. Social benefit. It leads to stronger social connections and a sense of belonging. When individuals feel connected to their community and have opportunities to participate in community events and activities, they are more likely to feel valued and supported. Health. Thriving community for all can promote better physical and mental health outcomes. When individuals have access to quality health care, healthy food options, and safe outdoor places, they're more likely to lead a healthy lifestyle. Environmental, the fourth one, a thriving community for all can also promote environmental sustainability. When individuals have access to their public transportation, green spaces, and recycling programs, they are more likely to engage in sustainable practices and reduce their environmental footprint. Or the next one, is reduce crime. A thriving community for all can also lead to reduced crime rates. When individuals feel connected to their community and have opportunities to participate in positive activities, are less likely to engage in criminal behavior. Increase resilience. The last one, a thriving community for all can also increase resilience in the face of challenges and disasters. When individuals have strong social connections and access to their resources, they are better equipped to recover from setbacks and overcome their obstacles. Overall, achieving a thriving community for all is important for the well individuals and community as a whole. By investing in resources and opportunities that promote economic growth, social connections, health, environmental sustainability, reduce crime, resilience, we can create a stronger and more vibrant community for everyone. Thriving community is a concept that is actually now being stressed around the world. There's like Leeds in the United Kingdom that is using it as part of their community. There's Freeland, Washington. I'm sorry. There's a nonprofit organization that is also promoting the thriving community, and they have videos and training and actually blueprints. Thriving community. The next bullet on the list was the staff and communications are working through the final brand design to be used for all the comprehensive plan materials. And the last item to relate on the slide is regarding the fact that it was a resounding success for the first hybrid meeting in the council chambers for the planning commission and as you can see by these photos, the two teams, the computing technology available, and the excellent staff support really made this achievement possible. Kudos to all involved. Any questions? Go ahead.
A comment. This is amazing, and I'm sure all council is probably like, Jennifer left that for all. So this is
Oh, fantastic.
perfect, and
Very
it's
proud of you.
alive. It feels like a comprehensive plan is alive. So yeah, well done.
Thank you much. And the teams also thank you for that. Go ahead.
Have we inquired about these blueprints? Because I am intrigued.
I can get them for you. Definitely. They have
have-
websites set up to go and access them and get the materials to be able to go through it. I have a list of 8 items that we could do to actually better achieve a thriving community for all. I wasn't gonna go through that because I'll talk forever, and I can send them to you if you'd like to see them. I'll send
So,
you that in the
so
links.
you, yeah, so you have laid eyes on this, right?
Oh, yeah, I've done,
Okay.
I've done all the research on all this,
Okay, so
and I think it's a very innovative and a way to convey to the population of the city that we really have a way of going forward to make it a thriving community.
Beautiful. I would much rather see your condensed interpretation and version of
Okay.
what it looks like, because it's gonna be closer to the heart of what Covington is.
Right.
And truly how we differ. We're not gonna be a different city, nor their
No.
blueprint. But I love the focus. I love that it focuses on positivity, what you said. It's very often that we can want to have a good phrase, but instead of focusing on the positives, we focus on the not negatives, that we are not what we are not, basically. So I really like that. Kind words go very long, very far. And
And it includes everyone. And that's the nice thing about it. It's
Absolutely.
not the rich and not
Yeah.
just the poor.
Yeah.
It's got everybody included in that.
And sorry, branching off this, because I'm sorry, I'm gonna take like 10 seconds because I love this. When you talk about having the community participate, anytime there's ownership, you protect what's yours. And therefore crime goes down, and therefore graffiti goes down, and so many things go down because it's yours and you work hard for it. And when you work hard for something, I actually think hard work would prevent a lot of issues that we have because we don't, if you don't have something to strive for, I also feel very unaccomplished if I haven't done anything. And therefore I'm just, bleh. and that bleh feeling, I
know.
can't really put words to it, is what then you can branches into the negative. So I really appreciate that. So nice about
Any other questions?
Well, I appreciate it as well, David. The energy that you put into this is very much appreciated, and I appreciate all the work that the planning commission did in conjunction with the ECSJ. So that was a really fantastic meeting. I had a really good time with that. It was just nice to get together and communicate about those things.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Let's see, that will take us on to the next page, which is the public engagement plan, and that will start.
I will kick that off.
All right.
So in the council packet for this meeting, you'll see the draft public engagement plan. The public engagement plan is actually a requirement under the GMA for comprehensive plan updates. So it's basically kind of our roadmap or, the process by which that we will do our best to engage and bring along folks within our community on our update. One thing that I kind of want to talk a little bit about is that, our current update is really kind of more of an audited update. So the council and the planning commission in 2015 undertook a huge process and doing the 2015 comprehensive plan. There was a lot of public output, a lot of public outreach. We basically had taken an old plan and scrapped it and started brand new. And moving into 2020 or the 2024 update for 2044, what we did was initially start with just an audit. What do we have? What's the requirements that the state's having us bridge? And where do we want to kind of see Covington in that 2044? So we're not doing what some other cities are doing, which is kind of what we had done in 2015 of kind of scrapping something and starting over. I think the feedback in the audit, which we shared with the planning commission, is that we did a really good job the first round, and we've worked really hard to implement a lot of those efforts into the actual municipal code. So what we're going to really be doing is trying to be more focused on the areas that we're going to be updated. So that being said, the public engagement plan kind of matches that level within the plan. Also, the public participation part is not separately funded, right? So the city got a grant for $125,000 to do all of this work. We fully expect that is not going to be enough to do the work. And so if we want to do anything more robust or special, then we'll need to have a conversation about that funding aspect of it. What we really wanted to focus on, because we have such immense programming in the city already, we did work with Carla early to just say, how can we utilize things we're already doing, right? Because a lot of those events are already meeting people where they are, right? People are choosing to come to an event that we can maybe grab their ear and kind of listen to them. And so you'll see on the public participation plan in there that there's, you'll see Covington Days, you'll see maybe a movie in the park, some of the other events, and those are ongoing. We're trying to coordinate those with Carla and the Parks Department, particularly, even taking out small ads in the rec guide, putting a QR code in there where people can, come and check out our website. So we're just really trying to utilize existing stuff within that. The efforts are going to be led by the Community Development and the Planning Commission. This is where we all get to kind of roll up our sleeves and get out behind the dais and get out amongst others. And we've actually done a road show with all of the other commissions as well, and kind of said, if you want to help us, we will take a pair of hands and put you to work on this. So we're hoping to gain some momentum through this. And then obviously anybody who's interested is welcome to help man a booth, do outreach, surveys and things like that. So ultimately, this guidance is really drawn from the RCW. And we've really taken that and tried to really tailor that to what we can do within Covington based on existing programming, financial resources, and people resources. Any questions on that part before I hand it over? Yes, you can-
Well, I mean, just a question or maybe even an observation that
Mhm.
I know we do a lot. We did a great job last year. We had a lot of information, we tried to do a lot of engagement, and especially with the events. I would also say that sometimes people have come up and they have so much to look at and there's so many surveys and they're getting inundated and it's like analysis paralysis. So I think there's that fine line of using what we already have, but something that's super important. Maybe we do need to look, and that's a decision, you know, from the budgeting end of it, of is there something different that we can do that's outside of, not everybody, you know, wants to take 10 or 15 minutes to stop at the city booth to look at all the stuff that's there. So I don't have an answer right now, but we can incorporate whatever needs to be talked about in the other
Discussions. Yeah, and I would just kind of take a look at we kind of have things once a month. We do have some open houses planned. So those, again, we'll take advantage of that. I know the planning commission was really strong about having those open houses and, you know, making sure that we were providing that space and making that a little more formal / informal for commission gathering. But we do expect to ideally be present at most events that take place this summer. And I hear you on the fatigue, the survey fatigue and the email fatigue. And that is something that Carla is very mindful with us about. So, yeah, we're pretty lockstep with her on this as well. So, but that's a very good point. We all talked about this same thing, like, so appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd share that desire to expand our ways of communicating and interacting and engaging people. I thought I wrote down your roadshow, but I also like the streets meetings we had where we actually went out to these communities. You know, in our traditional events, we're getting out and engaging. They're coming to us, but I also think it's good if we can find, it seems to be a model that worked well. So 3 or 4 places where we can engage with them about these. I think the more we can do to remove hurdles to engagement, the better product we'll get. So.
Sure. I do have one. When do you want to start this public meeting?
So we're kicking it off actually already. We're working on getting our webpage updated. So there's a landing place that we can send folks for just updates. Kind of had to untangle the last update, complaint information. So that should be up soon. And then we'll be working with the planning commission in the next coming months to schedule kind of our first open house. And then you'll see in February, it's not in front of me, but there's like a couple of just kind of minor things like reaching out to its chamber and our stakeholders.
I'm probably jumping the gun, but so will this information be available for? Because I'm gonna start the mayor's meetup, and so is there a possibility to have information like that that we can use at mayor's meetup, or questions arise? Will that help with the getting out with engagement? I mean, I like the idea of what Sean said about taking it out to everybody, but these mayor's meetups are not going to be here. They're going to be spread out throughout the city as well. So we can hit different aspects, different people.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And something we talked about, and it's in the engagement plan, is you know, we didn't want to use the term like planning in a box or something like that, because the data has really told us those haven't been successful. But giving council members, planning commission members, like talking points, things that they can kind of hand out to folks. So that is part of our plan. So I guess I'll probably just need to get with Krista maybe a little bit, and Carla, on as those are rolling out, so we can make sure that you've got, you know, some information to share in that. That's a great one we did not have on our list. And I know the summit had some additional like outreach for council. So I think there's an opportunity to dovetail those efforts with some talking points or some information, so.
Well, Krista, Carl, and I have just been recently talking about starting this.
Okay, perfect. I will put on my to-do to talk to Carla and
And if one
Krista.
of the planning commissioners would like to come and speak at one of those, welcome to as well.
Yeah, we'll get those on our calendar, so we know. Thank you, that's a great idea. Any other questions for the GMA part? And I'll hand this over to Commissioner Colomber. Right, take it away.
I think what I have to share would dovetail some of the concerns already been raised. I want to make three comments about public engagement. First, an observation. Secondly, an example, and thirdly, a suggestion. The observation is that social media is the obvious platform of choice for information today. Unfortunately, many of the postings on social media are based on misinformation that contributes to widespread mistrust of the government and spawns all kinds of conspiracy theories. Now,
Nails that right.
yeah, that's not new to anybody. Consider the popular Nextdoor social media site here in Covington that I see Commissioner Smith on quite a bit, or Chair, Councilman Smith. There are over 1,100 members on Nextdoor just in my Kentwood neighborhood. Most of whom I doubt will ever visit the city's website, and certainly not the planning commission's website, to be quite honest. Example would be recent postings about trees disappearing in Covington. Have claimed those claims based solely on misinformation, of course, that the city council and the planning commission have sold out to developers and are destroying habitat. Contrast those kind of responses with the very positive response to what the police department has been doing and publicly posting about stopping the theft and shoplifting in Covington. All positive responses on Nextdoor. A suggestion would be that the city might also feature on places like Facebook and Nextdoor a monthly or a bi-monthly schedule where they would focus on the work of a planning commission along with the police department. I know this. Highlighting at least three things that come to mind. First of all, what is our environmental philosophy and our values? Most people don't know that. Secondly, that we work under federal and state and county mandates. We don't initiate stuff. And thirdly, some positive examples of how developers are being held accountable, like through things like our new tree code. I thought I was lost in the woods there for about 2 years, but we finally came out of the tree code and share what is our environmentally conscious policy that we have. That's it.
Any questions?
And I think it's cheap too. I don't think it costs anything to go on Nextdoor or
Right.
Facebook.
Great, thank you, Joe. So that'll move us on to the engagement metrics, and this has been another strong topic with us. The current metrics is to reach, or our goal is to reach 100 people to participate in the process, provide input, provide responses to surveys. We've tried to up the ante on that a little bit to going to 1% of Covington's population, or roughly 240 people. And so I think we're going to try and shoot for that higher level. Hopefully we can do way better than that and knock it off the park, but we'll see how it goes. But you know, we want to get information back from all the stakeholders, which you know is just citizens, Chamber of Commerce, developers, landowners, you know, whoever we can get that is involved in our city or comes through our city to give us information. We also want to make sure that all of the other commissions are involved and aware of what we're up to with collecting this data. Maybe if they're having an outreach or they know people, they can reach out to those people and get information, especially from the perspective of that commission, you know, the Social Equity Commission. would be really good. Parks Commission would be really good. Human Services Commission would be really good to get feedback from, because they're going to have insight to things that the Planning Commission does not, as they deal with them all the time. So we want to include historically excluded groups, which would be persons of color, veterans, special needs folks, LGBTQ, again, you know, many of the groups that our Social Justice Commission would reach out to. And then as we go along, we'll just constantly track and check and adjust our efforts to see what we can do to get the most input back. So that's our last section there on that one. Any questions on that?
More observations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's good that we're looking at some of the demographics of who we want to get commenting on this. So I think that's really good to do, maybe even while it's going, just to make sure we're getting the right temperature and right contacting with the right people. The number of contacts or engagement, at least 100. What's our historic? Do we know?
No,
Okay.
we don't. I know that we all agreed it wasn't enough.
Yeah. Is it roughly around there, 100, or would that be?
I think in my estimation, that would be a bit higher
Okay.
than we would normally experience.
Yeah.
So probably closer to like 30.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
the one example that sticks out for me is that during the 2015 update, we rented out a storefront over next to Safeway.
Okay.
And had a kind of an open house throughout the day, staff was available, and we had 5. So, and I know we weren't doing surveys and kind of that tech, like, you know, we were using social media, but obviously not to the degree we do now. So it could be different, but, I don't know. It's a question we didn't have an answer to.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good just to at least have a goal, you know, now we can start working for that and we can see our progress if we're getting more and more people engaged. Along with the analysis of the demographics, I think we want to also look at the geographic distribution, make sure that we're getting at least some comments from all of our neighborhoods.
Mhm,
So I think most of them have HOAs that maybe have newsletters that you could send stuff to. So I would definitely think about that. And then some of our larger businesses might have newsletters they send out to, like the hospital or whatever, that they're willing to put something in there because they're community members that have a vested interest in the planning of this community. So I think the more touches we can get with our potential constituents, I think the better. So,
The National Night Out was also
Yes.
suggested as another option. So. Any other questions?
Well,
Yes.
one suggestion would be, most of all of the service clubs that meet on a regular basis, the Kiwanis, the Rotarians, and the senior center, not senior centers, but the senior housing developments, regularly seek out speakers. And I know you've come and spoken at the Rotary Club, and that was very good information for everyone. So that might be another venue of just asking some of the local groups. A speaker to come in and give them an update. I'm very sure that the senior groups around would be very good.
Definitely. Great, thank you. Any other questions? Joe?
More of an observation, like Sean, when I saw that 100 people participate, my heart dropped. I think that's, we're a city of over 21,000 people. If we only get 100 people to participate, I'm gonna cry my eyes out. Have we thought maybe we stand outside of Costco on a Saturday, we'll get 100 engagements in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we all hate seeing the guys outside of Walmart and Costco asking for our signatures for ballot measures, but most of us stop and sign them anyways. It's a thought.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here, but I think we can get more people to engage that way if we go to where they're at rather than hoping they come to us. And I mean, I'm not suggesting that we go doorbelling for ideas on this, but if it comes down to that, it might be one of those things we got to do just because we get 100 people, we can get 100 people in, like I said, 20 minutes of Costco. Let's see what we can do.
We had the same exact feeling about it. We were wanting to shoot much higher than that.
You know, and I also want to speak to, I know we know what goes on social media, but often there are some trolls that like to just drop the bomb and walk away.
Yep.
But often the people that make those posts are truly speaking from their experience, and whether it's right or, it's not for me to say that it's right or wrong, but it is important to them. And if they feel like they'll never be heard, I used to go over this a long time ago when I was coming to city council meetings going, why aren't there more people? And people were like, well, we used to come and say, and they didn't feel like, it's not about pointing the finger at anybody, but the point is it's that feeling sometimes that it's not gonna matter if I show up and say anything. They're just gonna do what they're gonna do anyway. But I do think that there's an opportunity to still get that feedback, and it does make a difference. And I was president involved in that and saw that happen. So I know that it can happen. We're not gonna do a 180, but you might be able to steer that horse just a little bit off the side, or just a little bit. And so having some stories like that, trying to get people not to feel discouraged about the process. Because I feel like they need to know that they are part of it. There's only so much we can do, but there is some stuff we can do. What can we do? Get that sense of ownership for everybody, in the community as we're growing, because this is really important stuff.
Anything else? Yeah, Jim.
How long of a survey are you expecting people to fill out?
Well, I don't think
That
it's
to me
been
is critical when filling
defined
out a
fully.
survey, so that's why I'm asking as someone who
Right.
gets so many, emails and.
We would
If
definitely
I see a long survey, you know what? No, it's why
Yeah.
I'm-
Oh, I get them all the time, and I'm
Right,
the same
so,
way.
I mean,
So we would definitely
maybe
be mindful of
strategy
the
is
length.
the city
and-
works for you, fill out this 2-minute survey.
Right,
And honestly, does it have to be the same survey for everyone? If you need more than what you can get out of 5 questions,
That's a
can
good
you
idea.
have multiple surveys?
Have a pool of questions, and each person
Right.
that fills it out, it picks maybe
That way,
5 or so.
yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like we have more chance
Yeah.
of success if it's quick.
Yeah, and that,
And
if
sounds
people,
fun, maybe, planning, people are like. "Wow."
yes,
Yeah. we talked
Number
about that.
100.
We did.
but
We
it
talked
might
about
get
that.
conversations going too, if multiple people who filled out the survey are talking to each other about it, and they find out, oh, well, I didn't get the same questions that you did. That might spur some more conversation. They might come back and provide some more info and see if they get different questions, so that'd be good too. Yeah,
Help this PC or something more
No,
Yeah.
catchy. Back to the
Or
future.
maybe even different surveys so they can choose, which honestly might give you. the
Yeah,
most
that's another
critical
good idea.
information.
Yeah,
and into silos of people's
What are people
interests.
and that's very similar to what the city of Redmond did. So they kind of broke down their sections. They're like, here's a housing, here's a transportation, here's capital, like kept it high level. And then asked certain surveys, so people could kind of go there and decide, oh, I'm gonna take 10 minutes and I'll fill out one of these, or I'm gonna take 15 minutes and fill out all of them. So we were kind of looking, and they had a pretty good outcome from that way, which is very similar to what you're describing. We haven't decided from a staff level exactly what we're doing. Burke Consulting is also helping us because they've got public outreach experts on their team, who's gonna kind of help us at least make sure the questions we ask matter, so we're getting the right data. But I like that idea of kind of these different levels. We also talked about tiers, and is it possible to do like win a gift card, or those kind of things we have to obviously talk with legal and everyone about, but is there opportunity?
Yeah, at school, they give the kids a sucker. I know, that's kids go to the same school, so it's, you have to, if you sign this, I get a dum-dum. I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah. Incentivizing.
Popsicles and cakes and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah.
right, it can be.
You could even try the pizza event again that we did years ago. That was an enjoyable time, so.
Yeah,
Feed people, they'll show up.
Yeah.
And Dana with the chamber also, I met with her to kind of kick off, can we get some time on your calendar as well? And she had offered some ideas. She's like, oh, Maker's Mark, like, you know, someone could just come and we could just spin a wheel and, you know, maybe there's
Oh, they
something,
love the wheel.
you know, those. And I was like, oh, it's great. And that's again, going to the Maker's Market, which you wouldn't really expect to see too much. So yeah, we're kind of definitely exploring these. So we're open, like, you know, what we have listed in the public engagement plan is just kind of, this is a draft. It will continue to be a draft because we will continue to learn and adjust. And then we've even talked about putting that draft on our webpage so people can just kind of see even like what we're doing not available. So yeah. So if you have ideas, send them to Susanna or I, and we will plug it in and then obviously come back to the commissions and say, can we get some help with this?
And council.
And council, yep.
And that's the exact kind of stuff that fits into that last bullet item there, which is to track, check, and adjust efforts. So, yeah, keep it coming.
And we also talked on the staff level, you know, we're doing the comp plan update pretty quick, right? We've got about 18 months to 24 months. It's a lot of public outreach, you know, to kind of do, if you do something once a month, I think that's pretty successful. But if this works, right, if we learn on this, then we've kind of maybe set ourselves up with a better program in general, right? And so we're hoping that this becomes a document that becomes more usable, even just in general for the work that we do.
Anything else?
And really, these last two slides are just a quick calendar. So you can kind of see every month where, you know, putting some stuff out there. February, we are slated for a survey that did not happen yet. We've got a lot going on, folks. And so we're probably shifted out, but like I said, we're hoping to aim for starting to talk about open house for later this spring or this summer. Obviously we've got National Night Out, all the things we talked about. Really these next, probably this next 12 months or remaining 11 months is really about introduce and raise awareness. In 2024 is that socialize and adopt. So the idea is that we're going to do outreach through June of 2024. And then that July to December, we have a ton of work that has to be done with compliance reviews. So our comp plan has to go through King County. They're going to start doing a compliance review. That's new. They're going to look at our housing elements. Then we have to go to PSRC for their compliance review. They focus on the housing, the land use, and the transportation. And then Commerce ultimately does that final review. So there's a lot of checklists that we'll be filling out from July to December, but obviously that socialization can still be happening. Okay.
Anybody have any more questions?
I just want to say thank you to Chair Williams and each of the commissioners. This was awesome information and a thriving community for all. I mean, I don't know about that for all part. No, that was, I love it. I think that did a great job coming up with that, and the collaboration that you did to achieve that is outstanding. So I'm really looking forward to where you're taking us on this comprehensive plan and everything else that you're working on. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time, and I certainly appreciate all the work of the commission that got us here today. So thank you. I appreciate the speakers too.
Okay. With that, the joint session is over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. You.